conversation. My mic was muted, praise God. So, welcome this morning to another Coffee Conversation. I'm your host, Shamaya Williams, and we have a very special guest with us this morning, Miss Ebony Harris. So, at this time, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself this morning?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. For those of you guys who do not know me, my name is Ebony A. Harris. I am a coach, I'm an author, I'm a speaker. And what I do is I love to help women heal from traumas, build mental agility, and discover purpose. I do this through a wide variety of things, one-on-one coaching, programs, books, journals, different things like that. But most of all, y'all, the biggest thing about me is I have a heart for God's people and I love God's people. However, I can help people, God's people, be better, greater, or fulfilled in this thing called life. That is what I'm all about.
Glory to God. Glory to God. One second here. Amen. Ebony is no stranger to Jesus Girl Enterprise because you have been a part of a lot of things that we've had together. And I mean, you were at the revival, you've been on Coffee and Conversation, you've supported us in so many ways. And I just want to, thank you for that. Um, Yes. So the devil's not going to get any victory this morning. We've had some technical difficulties, but hey, we are here and we're about to have a conversation this morning about how to deal with burnout. And what, better person to have with us this morning to share with us about how to deal with burnout, because you deal with this on a day-to-day basis with empowering women, teaching them and encouraging them, coaching them, and all of those things, counseling them. So can you just tell us a little bit about like what is burnout? Because some people may not know what that is, and kind of tell us some warning signs of it.
So absolutely, and we do see this, especially when I was working as a nurse, because my background is is a registered nurse. I was definitely seeing it a lot in the healthcare field. But as we have matriculated through this pandemic and gone just doing life in a totally different way,
Right.
most people are working from home remotely, having to do work from home, kids, life, where they're used to
Right.
separation. Now it's everything is all together. So what burnout is mental or physical exhaustion from a prolonged period of stress, right?
Wow.
When
Mhm.
we are under high stress situations for a long period of time, it begins to break us down, not only just physically, but mentally as well.
Mental.
And you'll know that you are dealing with burnout because things will begin to change, right? You begin to
Mhm.
deal with, you'll be irritable more often. You'll have aches and pains. Like sometimes we're not aware that a lot of the physical manifestations that we're dealing with, it's often connected to mental or emotional origins, right? So
Right.
we'll begin to have back pain, stomach pain, blood pressure starts to go up, having aches, having headaches, right? Having those
Mhm.
tension headaches, or if you're have a proclivity to having migraines, you'll find yourself having more migraines. Irritable, those times when you get in that car and you sitting in the driveway at your job and you just don't want to go in. A job that you
Mhm.
once used to love or a career that you once used to love, you don't have that desire that you used to have anymore. Even emotional depersonalization, right? We just emotionally detach from,
Mhm.
it's just now we've compartmentalized this job and it's just a thing that we're doing just to get through the day. But that empathy that we used to have, that connectivity that we used to have to people, we don't
Yeah.
have that anymore. We're not
Yeah.
as we don't have the interpersonal skills that we used to have. Used to be
Wow.
talkative, be able to reason and conflict resolve with people. But because of the high levels of stress that we're dealing with, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in ministry, whether it's in our homes, we as the person just begin to break down. We literally begin to burn out. Um, It can lead to high levels of anxiety, depression, because one thing about burnout, sometimes we think and we see burnout as people who just doing high level stressful things all the time, but
Right.
people burn out too when they're doing unfulfilling things over a when you're
Yeah.
unfulfilled for a long period of time.
Fulfilled. That's good. That's good. You know, because sometimes when we think about burnout, we think about like just the workplace. But you mentioned ministry. Like we can get burnout in doing ministry, kind of thing. So what can we say to like maybe pastors or leaders in ministry that may feel like they're burnt out?
A couple of things. The first thing that came to mind was pivot and shift. Pivot and shift, right?
Pivot and shift.
Sometimes
Okay.
we feel like what we've been doing is what we have to continue to do, right? And we
Mm.
may be in a totally different season. God may be leading and guiding us in a different way, but we haven't pivoted nor shifted with God or the season that we're in. And so we're still doing unfulfilling things.
Mm.
We're still functioning in an old assignment, or we're functioning under an old pentagram that's not conducive for where we are at the current moment. So we may feel unfulfilled in what we're doing, right? But
Mhm.
it's worked for so long, so we're going to do that. And then another thing, a lot of pastors, I'm not going to say a lot, but what I see often sometimes in our community is that we don't have pastors don't have co-pastors, ministers in training, or people that they trust to take over the ministry for a short period of time while they get some respite care.
Wow.
It's okay for pastors to take
Yeah.
off, even if it's a month,
Yeah.
begin to
Right.
train and build up some leaders and people, because one thing that people that struggle with burnout, they don't have strong supportive systems. They don't have strong
Mhm.
supportive people to help undergird them where they can take time off, where they can delegate tasks, where they can put off some things to other people, where their hands are not having to do everything. But
Yeah.
when you have a strong supportive team in your ministry, ministerial staff, leaders, and people that can pick up and carry in your absence, then of course you're going to be burned out. You never
Mhm.
taking time off. And a lot of times, not only do the ministry or the pastor suffer, but the home life suffer.
Wow.
Family time suffering. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Everybody's taking a hit because of this individual's inability to manage life, ministry, and everything. So pivot and shift. Seek the
Pivot and
Lord.
shift.
Okay, God, what season am I in? Because, like I said, it could be unfulfilling. You've served in that capacity. You may have
Mhm.
leaders that served in one capacity. That may have been the youth ministry, and that was for
Mhm.
youth leader. That may have been for a season. Seek the Lord about, okay, God, how can I reposition? How can I shift people? Who needs to be where? There may be new people in the congregation whose gift may be gone unidentified or need to be raised up and trained. Begin to develop people so you'll have the opportunity to take moments to take care of yourself, even if that's not coming on that Wednesday or not coming on that Saturday or Sunday, and taking that week off so you can take care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is so important, and a lot of leaders may need to hear that, like that pivot and shift, and just seeking the Lord about what season it am I in, like
Mhm.
sometimes, there can be seasons of like I just need to rest. I need to rest my body and not do anything. Um like I know like listening to our bodies is so important. And when it comes to burnout, like just listening to your body, just taking that time away from everything, I think is so, like vitally important to do. Because I know for me, like I have to I've gotten to a point, because when I was in grad school, my professors would talk to us about a lot about self-care,
Mhm.
and I didn't understand it. Like I understood like what self care is, but I'm like I don't understand like why they keep talking to us about self care.
Mhm.
And later on, as I continue like counseling in my internship and everything, and I'm like, okay, I know what they're talking about now. Like I really need to take a break, because it can really drain you mentally, physically, spiritually, in just all different areas. And so, like, I've
Mhm.
learned, like during grad school to take time for myself. whether that is just going to get a facial, whether that is just not doing anything, or just, just something to just get my mind off of all the things that I've done. Because, like you said, I don't know if you post this or you said something about like, or you've always been or share like how we need to have people to pour into us, kind of thing. I think you probably mentioned that in the coffee conversation at the revival about like how we need, people to pour into us instead of like we always pour during the pouring. We need someone to pour back into us. So I think that is, yeah.
And you said something very key, Shamaya. You said, listen to your body. Sometimes we override, like before we get to a place of mental breakdown, because that's the long-term result of, not of burnout and not taking that time to recover or to reprieve our bodies. Before we get to that place, our bodies are telling us even if we're not having the headaches or the aches or the pains or the stomach or digestive issues and things like that, we just feel like we need to take a break. We just feel like we need to get away. We just feel like we need to be by a body of water. We just feel like we need to take a long drive. We just feel like we need to sit on the porch and get some fresh air. You know what I mean?
Right,
like our bodies are telling us, hey, I need a little attention. And it may not be you being able to go to Hawaii and get under the waterfalls and dance with the hula dancers, right, to get your reprieve. But I've learned to create the moments that you need within the confines of what you have.
That's good.
Create
That's really
the
good.
moments that you need within the confines of what you have. So if I'm desiring a getaway and to just go dance and be with the hula dancers, maybe I need to get out and go dancing. Just do some wild, crazy dancing without people, and put on some music because it's about the moment is what I need, not necessarily just getting away to the place. Right? If I need to be by some water or some still time, find some water, or get a hammock and go sit out at the lake or do something. Create the moments of what you need within the confinements of what you have until you can take a vacation. Because sometimes we put off taking care of ourselves because, well, I don't have the money for a $75 facial. Well, what can you do? What can you afford in this moment to take care of yourself, right? You may not have the money to go on a vacation to Miami or whatnot, but can you drive a couple of hours down to a body of water and maybe stay in a hotel overnight and just sit on the water?
Right.
Create the moment.
Yeah. It's just definitely have to be creative, in this thing, especially dealing with a pandemic. Some people, may deal with that burnout, but they may be afraid to travel or, like you said, do certain things, financially, or just fear, can stop people from moving forward or just taking the next step, kind of thing. So what can we say to those people that maybe they are burned out, but they're afraid like to go on a vacation, or just kind of afraid to admit that they are burnt out at their workplace or ministry, or just in general, like,
You know what? We can never find freedom, and we can never gain freedom from what we refuse to acknowledge, right?
That's good.
We just can't. We will never live, whether it's under burnout, whether it's under unfulfillment, or whatever it is. We'll never get to a place of freedom if we cannot acknowledge this is where we are. Right. So having the courage, because it's not for your boss. It's not for your congregation. It's not for your children. It's not for your spouse. It's for you, so being able, of course, sometimes we will have those fears and those anxieties, but sometimes too, I don't even think, Shamaya, it's about fear. I think it's about people pleasing.
That's good.
You know what I mean? I don't want to disappoint my boss by not being here because they depend on me a lot. I don't want to disappoint my pastors by saying, hey, I need to take a month off from ministry to get myself together. I don't want to say to my husband, hey, I'm dissatisfied with some things and I need to take some time to get myself together. I don't want to say to my friends, hey, y'all, I'm going to be off away for a month. I'm not taking any calls, I don't think sometimes it's fear. I think sometimes, in some cases, it's fear. In some cases, we don't want to disappoint people because we, especially women, especially us, we've gotten so used to doing and meeting needs and helping people and things
Yeah.
like that, that we don't know how to take care of ourselves first.
Yeah. That's
So
so good.
yeah,
Yeah.
acknowledge that where I am, that I need this, and those who love you and support you will encourage you in that direction. And
Right.
if they don't, may not be the place you need to be long term.
Right. Right.
If
Maybe
you're in a
God is
hospital,
showing you, about those people in the midst of that burnout, thing that
even
you're
if it's your
experiencing.
church,
Right. Yeah. That's true. That's
yeah,
true. That
yeah.
is that is so true. I mean, I really think, this topic is so needed, in our churches as well, and in general. It's definitely a topic that we need to be aware of. Because
Because
so
you know
much can
what?
come from burnout.
You're right. And even in our ministries, like we'll see people won't say typically that I'm burnt out in ministry, right? They'll
Hmm.
say, "Oh, I feel the Lord leading me to something else," or "Oh, I don't
Yeah.
feel as connected to this thing as I used to," or "Oh,
Hmm.
I feel like my time, my season." You know what I mean? And really,
Yeah.
what it is, it's really burnout. Not to say
Hmm.
that some people are shifting with the next thing that God has for them, but instead of
Right.
communicating, if they don't feel like they have a leader that they can come talk to, and that the leader will be understanding and not saying, "No, you got da 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 da," and they're going to listen to them, they'll often hide it under those premises. When in reality, these kids don't want me out. I've been doing young adult ministry for XYZ. These married couples and got on my nerves. You see what I
Nerves.
mean? And it's stressful on top of everything else. And I just need some time away. Just give
Yeah.
me some time to regain, reboot, and build myself
Hmm.
up, so
Yeah.
I can be most effective in the thing that God has called me to do.
Right. Right. Because you can find strength in that. It may be a relief. It may. Sometimes we got to get to it have to be uncomfortable for us to get to the comfortable. So it may be uncomfortable for you to share that because you may be so passionate about it, but you have to do it. Like you say, you got to acknowledge it.
Mhm.
You have to acknowledge it. That's it. That was a big thing for me there. Can you Okay, so we talked a little bit about some of the warning signs in the workplace and in ministry. So what can happen if we don't deal with burnout? Like, what are some things you think that may happen if we don't deal with it?
On the extreme end, mental breakdown,
Mm-hmm.
um, detachment from, like I said, reality, relationships, things like that. When some people become overwhelmed, they become aggressive. They become, and you'll typically
Yeah.
see, when you see an angry man, you see either a wounded man or a man who didn't process through something very difficult for them, right? And
Right.
so you'll maybe begin to see some aggressive behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
or you'll see unhealthy habits to relieve stressors, high porn addictions, high sex addictions, high food
Mm-hmm.
addiction, alcohol, substance abuse. People who typically
Okay.
maybe
Yeah.
didn't know they would have wine with girlfriends every now and again. Now they're having a glass or two of wine every single day to
Every day.
just deal with
Creating
the
an
stress.
addiction.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So you'll start seeing people
Mm-hmm.
have what used to be leisure things become more addictive things. You will
Mm-hmm.
see people who lose passion. They'll lose passion and desire. People that used to be
Mm-hmm.
go-getters and visionaries
Yeah.
and high, achieving people, they're barely achieving there. Because I don't know if I mentioned it, but one of symptom of burnout is fatigue, chronic fatigue.
Oh yeah.
You're just always tired. you
Tired.
know and
Mm-hmm.
if you're living, and a lot of times I had to talk to a girlfriend about this. She was just telling me how she
Mm-hmm.
was tired all the time. We were talking, and
Mm-hmm.
the RN and me started to go down different medical things that it could possibly do, possibly be. And I said, well, friend, are you stressed? Are you
Mm-hmm.
anxious? Are you living under a lot of pressure and frustration? And she just began to cry. She said, I am.
Oh
I
wow.
said, your soul is tired, girl. Your
Oh
soul
Jesus.
tired. You're so tired.
Mm.
And no amount of sleep, no amount of Red Bulls, no amount of coffee, Nothing can fix a soul fatigue
A soul fatigue.
except dealing with the things that is making your soul tired.
Tired.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so we'll not, when your
Jesus.
soul is tired, when your soul is tired, you ain't doing what you used to do. You don't have the capacity for the conversations you used to have. You just begin to shut down. You
Yeah.
purpose, you don't have the capacity to pursue it like you used to. You're just doing barely enough to get by. So you begin to lose that passion and desire. And on the physical side, one symptom of dealing with burnout is your immune system begin to break down. If you live under high levels of stress and you don't process through that stress breaks down the immune system.
Oh yeah.
One result of a weakened immune system is you're sick more often. You done had COVID 10 times.
Wow.
How? Because you're stressed. Stress. Right. You keep getting sick and getting these stomach colds and head colds and UTIs and upper respiratory infections. How?
Yeah.
Because you used to have a rock solid immune system. You can go in the middle of whatever and everybody's sick except you. Now you're sick all the time. Stress will break down your immune system.
Wow.
And we don't realize that. So long-term effect, not dealing with, you have infections all the time.
Yeah.
You're sicker than you used to be. So you definitely can't function if you're sick like that all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's so, like mental illness can do so much to the body. And I don't think, a lot realize that how it can make you sick in the immune system. Like I talk a lot about that in some of my sessions, like how it weakens your immune system. It just brings you down. You know what I'm saying? So you hit the nail on the head when you said all of that, because that that is just so true. Like stress, on the immune system, like that's a whole nother topic. Like we can be right there for a little minute talking about that.
And you know what? That's the plug place though, because and maybe you do need to have a conversation with leaders, high level leaders or people that work in high stress environments, because the issue is not the stress, because I'm sure they knew kind of what they were getting to, but how do I navigate, matriculate, and function through this high level of stress where this stress won't overtake me and I'm able to navigate well and not let this thing affect me. Because a lot of what I've learned, a lot of people don't know how to deal with stress.
Yeah, stress. Ooh. Stress can be like, ooh, sometimes if I feel stressed, I just have to, I'm at a point now where like I try to just stop and just breathe, take a break, do some relaxation. I'll get on my floor in my room, just cross my legs and just move side, like relax, because if you don't deal with it, it just brings, like you said, it brings you down. And so I don't want that for myself. Like I'm at a point to where I don't want that for myself. Now, when I was in grad school, I was high level stressed. Like I was stressed out, all those papers every week and everything. You can relate. Like
I'm in grad school now.
Oh, really?
Girl.
Yes, like this. I'm like, why do we have to do so much writing? Like it's just, man. I remember in one class we had to do a session, record a session, do the session, record the session while we're doing it, and then for our assignment we had to write down every single thing that client was saying verbatim, and then what we were saying as well. It was in I think it was like in a techniques class. Yeah, it was like a techniques class. And I was like, man, like, why do we have to do this? But you know what? Later on down the line, like when I got into like the field or whatever, when I take my notes or like when I jot things down in my sessions, like some of my families be like, girl, like you write so fast. And I go back to that class. I'm like, man, it's that class.
Yeah,
because you had to like really like just be on it. I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now. So it was just like it can, man, but it's worth it. It's worth worth the process kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing about stress. Some stress isn't always bad. We have
Right.
this idea that if it's stressful, that it's bad, and it's not.
Mhm.
Some stress come to push and cause us to produce.
Yes, I had that in my head. I was just about to say push. That
Uh-huh, it does.
yes.
It pushes us and causes us to produce and execute on a level that we may have not have executed if we stayed in our comfort, right? And
Right.
then we have those stressors that it's not the stress that's bad. It's the levels and how much we're dealing with in one time and not processing, navigating through it, right? When we're in grad school, the paper's going to be stressful. Those some of the things that
Yes.
we have to do, it will be stressful. Some of the things we're doing in work, in ministry, it will be stressful.
Right.
But like you said, taking those minutes, deep breathing is like a game changer. Deep breathing and
It
self-talk.
is.
I teach that. If we don't teach that, I teach deep breathing and self-talk. How you talk to
Mhm.
yourself through situations and being able to breathe. You can do deep breathing while you're sitting right around people that don't even know what you're doing. Taking that moment to just breathe and release. I love the 4-7-8 technique. I do that
Yes.
often, just being able to deep breathe, hold it, and release that stress, and just doing it a couple of times. And okay, I've regrouped, let me come back. Simple,
Yeah.
small techniques that'll help us
Yeah.
de-stress and decompress in the moments until we get off and we can go to a lake or take a long drive or sit in the driveway,
Right.
because sometimes at work, you can't get away. You on them people clock, and they have requirements. You have another appointment after this appointment, and you can't go to the
Yes.
shop for an hour. But you can take a moment in your office, put your head back, just lean back in a chair,
Yes.
and deep breathe and
Deep breathe.
unwind. Just for a moment, and say,
Mhm.
okay, get yourself back up, ready for the next
Yeah.
one. It's those small
Right.
things, because I believe if we learn to master the moments, life is filled
Mhm.
with a lot of moments. And if we can
Mhm.
learn to master the moment, then we can master the situation. Then we can
Right.
master the day. Then we can master our lives. But life
Yeah.
is full of a whole bunch of moments that we have to learn to master.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like those little moments can start to accomplish so much, you know,
absolutely.
so much. So I love that. I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's just something that I've just tried to do. Like just gratitude. Like even in my planner at the bottom, it has like, what are you grateful for today? Every day. Like when I go in my planner, when I'm jotting down my, stuff, I go at the bottom, just write down what I'm grateful for. And sometimes it be the same exact thing I said yesterday, but it just keeps that on my mind,
Yeah.
throughout the day kind of thing. So it really helps. Like the little things, like you, like for real, that really helps so much. Um, we talked about like what are some of the best ways to deal with burnout. You mentioned that. Um, so I think the last question here is, if we see others that are dealing with burnout, like they're showing signs of it, or how can we what can we say to them, or that kind of thing. Like, do we say something to them about it, or just kind of support them in that, or
You can do both depending on the
Mm,
relationship and proximity you have to a person.
okay.
If you're my friend and we're talking, I'm definitely gonna say something to you. Typically, I'm the friend that will see blind spots, will see things like that because of my profession and the grace on my life, right? So, I'll
Yeah.
definitely say something. But if we're at work and we see our coworkers, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Hmm.
They're stressed and they are not themselves. Because sometimes we don't realize some people aren't emotionally intelligent to where they're really paying attention to their emotions and how they feel. They just
Yeah.
they've just gone and processed and functioned throughout life, and
Yeah.
they may realize they may be more irritable, they may be more snappy, or they may be more anxious, or startle easily, and they're not realizing, or they may be drinking more coffee. You see what I mean? And not realizing.
Yeah.
And if you're there, say, "Hey, girl, what's going on?" The best way to help someone is by supporting them. Sometimes
Yes.
support is bringing things to their attention. Sometimes it's you being the relief that they need, because sometimes
Hmm.
people deal with um, burnout. They don't know how to delegate. They don't know how to take a moment for themselves. We as women sometimes don't feel that it's okay to take care of ourselves. And one of my girlfriends posted on Facebook, and I love it. She said that self-care is me too.
Wow, I like that.
Me too. Yeah.
Yes.
So sometimes we don't realize that it's okay for me to take care of myself too. It's okay for me to take moments for myself too. So listening to them, being the support that they need, and then sometimes offering insight. If you're a person that has that insight, offering and encouraging them in the area of insight, or teach some things, give them insight on some things that you do, like taking that small time out, taking those, small deep breaths. It's going to, when I was working, one thing that I would do, because I was a nurse and people always calling your name, right? I would go in the bathroom. I would just go in the bathroom, clean off the toilet, and I'll just sit in the bathroom for 5 minutes sometimes.
Yeah.
Of course, I wouldn't be in there for prolonged periods of time, but just taking that isolated place away where nobody's calling your name, nobody's, calling on you to take that moment to regather yourself and then come back out. Also, I would encourage them to go talk. Sometimes talking to a coach or a therapist can really help you. Sometimes we just need the techniques, the coping skills, the strategies to deal with stress, to deal with burnout, or because we talked about earlier, burnout may be unfulfillment. And so working with a coach or working with a therapist can help you identify areas of passion and purpose for you, help you identify that, and then help you to create a plan to move from where you are to get into a purposeful, fulfilled place. Even if that matriculation may be within the organization or what you're doing, it may not always be about leaving. It may be about what's next for me within where I am.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Yeah, that's so good, because sometimes we can move too quick and we'll miss the moment. Maybe there's something God was wanting to do in that, there. And so we just up and leave, kind of thing, and miss something.
Without a
So I think
plan.
that, without a plan. Yeah. Yes. Yes, indeed. Like, you hit a lot of things. One of the things that stood out to me was the pivot shift. Like, when you talk about that was like really, really good. And just to kind of be aware of like the seasons and what, God is saying, and it's so much help out there. But you have to pray and ask God for the right help. Lord, lead me. I'm struggling with this thing. Lord, lead me to the right counselor, the right coach, the right leaders that will help pour into me, and help me to nourish the gifting that you have given unto me. So, I think that is so.
And that's so good, sis, because sometimes, I love that you said to pray and ask God to lead you to the person, because sometimes the people that we're used to going to don't have the capacity to give us the instruction for what's next for us.
Yeah.
Right? That boss, sometimes if a season is ending, maybe at a ministry, sometimes God may not be leading you to go talk to that leader specifically and get insight about your next, right? So it's very, very important. Not to say that I gotta use caution when I say that, because I ain't telling nobody not to go talk to their leaders, right? Definitely go talk to your leaders, but seeking God about who it is to connect or talk to, because your leader may not be a strategist. That may not be a mantle or thing that they have on their life that they're really well at. You see what I mean?
Right.
And so God may be leading you to talk to someone else, but it's definitely important to get that God direction on coach, therapist, leader, person, because sometimes it could not be this friend, it could be that friend.
Right.
You may have a friend that's really great with strategy and seeing blind spots. They may not even know that they're a coach or whatnot, but that's really good. Yeah. That's what they're really great and strong in. And so talking to the friend that I don't talk to often to help them give me some insight about where I am.
Yeah.
But God will lead us.
Yes, God will lead. That's so good. That's so good. I'm reminded of Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Like that's one of my go-tos, like trust in the Lord with all your heart lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways, acknowledge God and he will direct your path. Like it goes back to what you said, acknowledging the thing, like, acknowledging God already knows,
Mm-hmm.
he knows everything about us. He knows all the things, about us. And so it's like, even just acknowledging the fact that, hey, I need help or I'm struggling, Lord, I need you to direct me because my own understanding is causing me to sink into a lot of stress and anxiety and all of those things. But I
Mm-hmm.
know if I lean on you, you'll keep me in perfect peace if I keep my mind stayed on you. So
Absolutely.
I,
And even,
yeah.
Sister said something, even he will direct us, he will show us the path to take. Sometimes, even in
Mhm.
that, if we can just get with the Lord and he give us the blueprint for our next or what we're working towards. Because some people dealing with burnout don't see a out or don't see an end or don't see a way from under what they're living under, right? But
Right.
if I get with the Lord and he give me a blueprint for my next, then I know what I'm working under won't last always because
Right.
I'm working towards something. So now my momentum is coming back. Now my energy towards, now my passion is coming back because now I'm not stuck in an expired place or unfulfilled place. I'm working
Mhm.
to get to my next. So when God says move or execute or when my time is up, I know what I'm going towards or what I'm working towards. So sometimes
Mhm.
sitting before the Lord, God, what's my next? What is written of heaven about me in this season that I need to be doing? Sit before the Lord like the prophet did. He was like, look, God, stuff going on in the world, and this ain't what it is. Give me some instruction. And he got on his watchtower.
Yes.
He said, look, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wait till you speak to me. And when you
Mm.
speak to me, everything that you say to me, I'm going to write it down. And that's when God told him, he said, look, write the vision and
Yeah.
make it plain. So those that read it, they'll be
Yeah.
able to run with it. So we need to do that too. If we dealing with some
Yeah.
burnout and if the burnout, the origin is we're unfulfilled, sit on the watchtower, get on your watchtower, sit in your bed in the middle of the night, go and say, Lord, look, what's written of heaven about me in this season?
Mm. Oh,
What do I
that's
need
good.
to be doing in this season? What
Yeah.
things in my life have expired that I'm yet staying, holding on to, connected to,
Mm.
or continuing in that I need to move forward? And God,
Mm.
give me the strategy
Mm.
so I can begin to move
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
Because what some people just need is the blueprint for their next.
Mhm.
I'm passionate about this. I want to do this. I want to start this. I want to, because some people too, they're burnt out. They're burnt out because they're working and they don't have a place to release through serving.
Oh, wow. I had to catch that. That was good.
Yeah.
Wow.
And not necessarily serving at the church.
Mhm.
Your own personal
Mhm.
service that God is giving you into the world.
Right.
Mentorship
Mhm.
program with some young girls,
Yeah.
going to feed the homeless,
Yeah.
starting prayer walks, going
Mhm.
to I don't know, work with young boys with dyslexia. You like to, you know what I mean? Whatever your
Mhm.
personal place of service is, you're
Right.
not serving because you're just always working and home, working and home.
Right.
Sometimes create your own personal place of service.
Mhm. That's so good. I know when just a personal thing, like when I did the revival,
Mhm.
um after the revival, I was so tired. Like I was
Mhm.
so exhausted. And I just took a break from like social media and I just fast, for that month of February. People were like, "Where's Shamaya?" Like, I'm like, y'all, I had to take a break. I had to have that moment,
Yeah.
for myself kind of thing. And it was so good. Like it was like a refreshing kind of thing.
Mhm.
So it's really like when you said, you really have to take a step back. Like it's still gonna be there. Like this, like this stuff's still gonna be there. Maybe a little bit of changes or anything like that, but you're gonna come back. You're gonna come back more knowledgeable. You're gonna come back more aware, strengthened. All of
Yeah.
those things, when you take a step back, it's beauty in that.
Mhm.
I think we should, embrace that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because rather listen, if it disconnected or moved on without you, it wasn't meant to be, okay?
Right. Right. That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true. I really, really enjoy this conversation. Like this is, it's really needed and you really hit a lot of points. I just hope, that everyone like in the in the chat box were encouraged and just share, guys, share this beautiful message. Ebony has a lot of great things that she has going on. She has an amazing book, journals, affirmations. So can you just let us know how we can reach you? Um, if anybody wants your coaching, your counseling, your services, and things like that.
Absolutely. So you guys can reach me on my website. My website is www.ebonyaharris.com. And all of my social media platforms is the same. It's Ebony A. Harris on Facebook, on Instagram. It's Ebony A. Harris. But all over my website, everything is ebonyaharris.com.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Listen, Ebony's amazing. Like I was like,
Thank
sis, can you
you.
please do this coffee conversation? And she was on board with it, and I appreciate your time, your effort. Time is so precious and valuable, and I just pray that God continue to bless you, bless your ministry, continue to keep you as you pour into others. That He will just bless you, and that your coaching will go to nations all over the world. I pray that for you. And I mean that honestly with all of my heart, that God would do some great things, through your ministry as He's already doing, just even greater works, that, He's wanting us to do. And so greater works that you are doing. And so I just hope that those things for you. And like I say, y'all get out, if you need coaching, get to Ebony. She will definitely bless your life. Just talking to you sometimes, like even after the revival, we kind of talked a little bit,
Mhm.
and it's just like you're so genuine and just so like just down to earth. And I just thank God, for that, kind of thing. And that's what, this Jesus Girl thing is about, connecting and
Mhm.
encouraging and empowering each other and gleaning from one another. And so just to glean from you today was a beautiful thing. So thank you.
No, thank you for having me. I consider it an honor when a person invites you to do something once, they're kind of really testing the waters with you, I guess. But when a person invites you back repeatedly on their platform to share with their audience and their influence, it's something major. So I don't take it for granted. I thank you so much for trusting my voice and trusting what God has placed on the inside of me,
Yeah.
and giving me these opportunities to share with the ladies what it is that God gave us. So thank you, Shania. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, you guys look out for more coffee conversation on in September. We have some very special guests that will be coming up with us, and stay tuned for more coffee and conversation. Remember, we are building purposeful relationships and gaining healing through conversation. Have a great Saturday. God bless you. God keep you is our prayer.